Claire Jennings stood behind the heavy wooden door of St. Matthew's Chapel, her white-gloved hands trembling as she adjusted the lace veil cascading over her face. Beyond the polished oak, wedding music swelled with anticipation, but her father, Colonel Adam Jennings, was nowhere in sight. The priest paced nervously near the altar. The guests murmured. The maid of honor whispered, "Still no word from him?" Claire shook her head. Her lip quivered, but her voice remained firm. "If he doesn't come, I'll walk alone." Colonel Jennings, 57, was not just any father. He was a decorated combat medic turned disaster response commander, known worldwide for entering war zones and natural disaster sites where others refused. A single father for 24 years since his wife died in a Red Cross convoy bombing, Adam had raised Claire with a soldier's discipline and a father's fierce devotion. He had promised he'd be there. Promised he would walk her down the aisle himself. Promised that no mission would stand between him and this moment. 3 nights before the wedding, he had sat in Claire's kitchen, sipping weak coffee while polishing his old service medals. "You've always been my reason to come home," he'd said. "This time, I'm not going anywhere. Nothing in the world is more important." Claire had smiled, placing her hand over his. "You've never failed me, Dad. You're not starting now." But at 4:18 a.m. on the morning of the wedding, his satellite phone buzzed. Earthquake. 7.4 magnitude. Coast of Honduras. Hundreds feared buried beneath collapsed buildings. The region's infrastructure was overwhelmed. He was the only available senior officer with mass casualty experience within the emergency response radius. Adam stared at the wedding itinerary on his nightstand. His press dress blues. His daughter's invitation. He closed his eyes, exhaled sharply, and reached for his boots. The air was humid as the military chopper lifted off the Fort Polk airfield at 5:12 a.m., its rotors slicing through dawn's silence. Colonel Adam Jennings sat strapped in the rear compartment, helmet on, headset crackling with updates from the Honduran Disaster Operations Center. Estimated 200-plus civilians trapped. Collapsed municipal hospital. Structural integrity unstable. Triage zones non-functional. Adam's eyes remained locked on the small photograph pinned to the inside of his vest. Claire, age 10, wearing his oversized cap and saluting like a soldier. Behind the photo, he had tucked her wedding invitation. A young corporal sitting across from him leaned forward. "Sir, you sure about this? I mean, your daughter's wedding." Adam gave a faint, tired smile. "She was born during an armed standoff. I cut the cord on a military cot. Claire doesn't need me to stand beside her to feel me there. She's always known where my heart is." Back at the chapel, Claire checked her phone again. No messages. No missed calls. Only silence. Her best friend and maid of honor, Natalie, gently reached for her hand. "Claire, there's still time. Maybe his flight was delayed. Maybe." Claire shook her head, lips pressed into a straight line. "If Dad missed this, it's because he had no choice." She turned toward the mirror. "He's saving lives. And he raised me to be strong enough to walk alone if I have to." Still, the pain in her chest ached like a slow bruise forming. Downstairs, in the rows of pews, the murmuring had begun. "Seriously? He missed the wedding? Too obsessed with being a hero. He wasn't even at her high school graduation, was he? Always some emergency somewhere. Always another country more important than his own family." Claire could almost hear their judgment, even from the bridal suite above. But she didn't speak a word in defense. Her father had taught her silence is sometimes louder than argument. She smoothed her dress and straightened her back. If she had to walk alone, she'd do it like he would. With honor, head high. At the edge of the disaster zone, Adam knelt beside a trembling little girl no older than 7, her leg pinned beneath concrete. He gently held her hand as medics prepared a field splint. "You're doing so well, sweetheart," he said, voice low and steady. "We're gonna get you out." "What's your name?" "Sophia," she whimpered. "Well, Sophia, I have a daughter too. Today's her wedding day. She's wearing a white dress, just like a princess. Sophia blinked up at him, dazed. You're missing it? Adam smiled, pain etched behind his eyes. Not missing. Just sending someone else in my place. At that moment, Captain Elijah Boone, a towering man in his early 40s with a grizzled beard and a purple heart, knelt beside him. Sir, Boone whispered, we just received a secure transmission from your daughter's fiancé's unit. Seems the wedding is starting in 3 hours. Adam didn't look away from Sophia. There's no way I can make it back in time. I know, sir. But maybe someone else can. Adam turned, eyebrows raised. Boone continued, with your permission, I'd like to activate the old guard. Your original team. The men you trained. The ones still stateside. They'd follow your orders, sir. Especially for this. Adam's voice caught. You think they'd actually do it? Boone gave a sharp nod. Colonel, these men owe you their lives. You carried some of them through hell and back. They won't just do it. They'll consider it an honor. Adam stood slowly, heart pounding, not from the emergency, but from hope. Get the SATCOM up. Patch a line through every channel we've got. I want to speak to my brothers directly. Within 45 minutes, transmissions reached 11 men across 5 states. Retired sergeants. A field medic. A former recon sniper. Even one who had lost a leg during their last tour together. Boone's voice echoed through the secure line. Gentlemen, Colonel Jennings can't be there to walk his daughter down the aisle. But if we have anything to say about it, she won't be walking alone. Miles away, across towns and time zones, phones buzzed in quiet kitchens, garages, and barracks. Master Sergeant Ray Hawk Hawthorne answered from his small Colorado ranch. His wife didn't even ask, she just handed him his pressed dress blues with a soft, understanding nod. Sergeant Luis Dominguez, now a fire chief in El Paso, stopped mid-training and muttered, Tell Jennings we'll be there. No matter what. Even Corporal Noah Baines, who had lost his leg in an ambush 9 years ago, messaged, I'll walk with my cane if I have to. I don't leave a brother's daughter behind. Within 90 minutes, 11 former operators, all once under Adam Jennings' command, confirmed. Captain Boone called Adam on a secure line. Sir, they're already en route. Commercial flights, private charters, hell, one of them's hitching a ride on a medical transport. We've got 12 men assembling at the chapel in under 2 hours. Adam stood still amid the ruins of a fallen city, dust clinging to his face, heart swelling. They're really doing it? Boone smiled. They're not doing it for you, sir. They're doing it for Claire. Meanwhile, at the chapel, a low-level panic settled in. The coordinator's voice was tight as she spoke to the maid of honor. If we don't begin in 20 minutes, we'll lose the slot entirely. I'm sorry. Claire sat silently, hands folded in her lap. She had gone pale but stayed composed. Her mother's locket rested against her chest. Inside, a picture of her as a child on Adam's shoulders. Natalie leaned in. Claire, do you want me to walk with you? You don't have to go alone. But Claire shook her head. No. If I walk by myself. That's what he would do. That's what he taught me. Outside, a small convoy of black SUVs arrived at the rear chapel entrance. Out stepped 12 men in gleaming dress uniforms. Their shoulders squared. Their boots shined. Their expressions unreadable. They carried one thing in common, a single white rose pinned to their lapel, the flower Adam had helped Claire choose for her bouquet in memory of her mother. Inside the chapel, time had all but stopped. Guests shifted uncomfortably. The music trailed off. The officiant approached Claire and gently said, We can delay a few more minutes, but not much longer. Claire gave a quiet nod, more out of courtesy than hope. She stood slowly, gathering the edge of her gown. Her heels clicked softly against the marble as she made her way to the chapel doors. Then silence. A moment later, the rear entrance burst open, not with noise but with purpose. 12 men in formation stepped forward, their white dress uniforms immaculate, their expressions solemn. The chapel gasped audibly. Guests turned in their pews. Murmurs fell silent. Captain Elijah Boone led them, walking with precise dignity, a folded letter in his gloved hand. The officiant stepped back. The music began again, soft, reverent, different now. Slower. Heavier with meaning. Boone approached Claire, stopped at arm's length, and knelt. "Miss Jennings," he said, voice low and firm, "your father sends his love, his pride, and his deepest regret that he cannot stand beside you today. But he did not leave you alone." He held out the letter. Claire took it with trembling fingers, her voice barely audible. He sent you." Boone rose and offered his arm. "Yes, ma'am. And if you'll allow us, we'd be honored to walk you down the aisle, together. As one. For the man who trained us all." Her eyes brimmed. "How many of you served with him?" Boone turned slightly, gesturing behind him. "All of us, ma'am. Your father saved every single man you see standing here." Claire smiled through her tears. "Then I'd be proud to walk with my father's legacy." They walked slowly. Claire in the center, Boone beside her, and 6 men forming a corridor ahead, 5 behind. As she passed each one, he fell in behind her, until she walked surrounded by a living honor guard. Every guest stood. Not from custom, but reverence. Some whispered prayers. Others cried openly. The groom, Lieutenant Nathan Carter, an Army Ranger who had served under Colonel Jennings during his final tour, stood at attention, tears in his eyes, chest proud. Claire stopped halfway down the aisle, gently turned, and faced the crowd. "My father isn't here today," she said clearly, voice shaking only slightly. "But he is also everywhere. In these men. In your hearts. And in mine." She turned to Boone. "What is he doing right now?" Boone answered without hesitation. "Colonel Jennings has personally pulled 15 civilians from a collapsed hospital. He's dug with his bare hands. Carried children out in blankets. He's still working, ma'am. He refused rest until all were safe." The chapel erupted in applause, long, sustained, respectful. Claire nodded and whispered to herself, "That's my dad." After the vows. After the kiss. After the cheers and photos and celebration, Claire's phone buzzed quietly on the reception table. "Incoming video call, COL, Adam Jennings." She picked it up. The image flickered to life, her father's face, streaked with dust and sweat, framed by floodlights and emergency responders in the background. His voice was hoarse but warm. "Hey, baby girl." Claire smiled instantly. "Dad? I saw everything," he said, wiping tears away with a dusty glove. "You were perfect. Strong. Beautiful. Brave. You kept your promise," she whispered. "You said I wouldn't be alone. I sent the best I had," he replied, his voice cracking. "Those men, they love you like I do. Like a father should." Boone stepped into view beside her and saluted the screen. "She made you proud, sir." Adam saluted back. "She always has." A month later, the wedding photo arrived at Adam's recovery station, Claire, standing tall in her gown, surrounded by 12 saluting soldiers. At the bottom, a handwritten note. "You didn't miss my wedding, Dad. You just extended it beyond yourself. That's what leaders do. That's what fathers do." Adam framed the photo and tucked it into the side pocket of his duffel. The next morning, he deployed again. And this time, he didn't leave with guilt, he left with pride, knowing his daughter walked her wedding aisle the same way he taught her to walk through life. With honor. Surrounded by those you've lifted up. And never, ever alone.